welcome to Song Meanings and Origins. Today we're going to talk about my song, The Projectionist. But before we do, I just want to say thank you to all of you who suggested this song. This is the very first song in the series, and when I first announced that I was going to be making a series talking about the origins and meanings of some of my songs, a lot of people asked for The Projectionist. And what's really amazing about that is when you make music for 20 years, you get very used to people saying things like, I really love your album, and then they say the first one or the second one or stuff that you did, decades ago. So it was so gratifying to have so many people want to hear about a song from the most recent album as we presently make this video. It's just so gratifying to know that people are listening to the new material. So thank you for listening. And without further ado, here is the meaning of The Projectionist. The Projectionist is in essence a metaphor. The entire song is written in metaphor. It is literally it is about a person. Since it's sung by me, you can imagine that person is a man. And that person he is a projectionist. He has a projector. And it sounds like he's either stalking or seducing a woman, and that once he meets her, she complies and wishes to be a part of this. He then starts projecting a film. And the film is something that she becomes wrapped up in. And that's like sort of literally what's happening on the surface. Things in the lyrics say, don't move, don't speak, don't blink. Just leave it up to me. I've got a mind and it's like a laser beam light. And that sort of speaks to the focus, this like laser beam focus that this individual has for whatever it is that his intentions are. And then it goes on, don't cry or complain. It's no use because it's all the same. It won't matter once I've got you in my sights. And that sounds kind of nefarious. And then he says, you were living your life when I came along. Never wondered if it was right or wrong. You had a nice smile and a pretty face. I unlatched my case. So he's ready to use his projector. I flipped the switch. You heard the whir. Surprised by what had just occurred, you thought to run, but something made you stay. So there's a sense of what's the word I'm looking for? Consent there. So it sounds very nefarious. It sounds like this man is sort of imposing his will upon this woman. And it never says it's a woman. It could very easily be another man. But really what's happening here is it's a metaphor for a human characteristic, a trait, and it's something that a lot of us do subconsciously usually, and that is when we meet somebody and we want so desperately for that person to be the person of our dreams. We want so desperately for it to be Prince Charming or for it to be our fairy princess, and we're going to fall in love and be together forever with this perfect person that we project upon them. And that is where the metaphor comes in. The projectionist is not really somebody with a projector. This is somebody who already in his mind has a movie of who his perfect mate is, or who her perfect mate is. Women do this as well. You see it all the time. You meet a guy and the red flags are there, he's kind of a jerk, maybe he's an unruly drunk, or maybe he's someone who's definitely gonna cheat on you, but you feel like maybe you can fix him, or you feel like maybe you can ignore those things and they'll go away. We all do it. Not all of us, but a lot of us have been in the same situation. And subsequently, the projectionist is somebody who already has an idea of their ideal mate, and it's like a movie playing in their heads. And when you meet somebody, instead of getting to know them, instead of spending the time to find out who they are and what their quirks are and what they love and what they're really like inside, you just project on them. You just assume that they're a certain way. You sort of fantasize about how you want them to act, how you want them to speak, how you want them to dress. And everything, and the film will play as long as you can stay, unless they're unruly. Unruly by just being themselves. So later in the song, there's lines like, you moved your lips, but I couldn't hear with the soundtrack blaring in my ears. I'm sorry if I don't know what you said. And it's because you're not paying attention at all to who they are and what they're trying to tell you. There's another line in there somewhere where it says, don't move, you'll ruin the film. Again, don't expose who you really are, because that may not be in line with who I want you to be. And of course, this is a very negative human characteristic. This is not something anybody should be proud of doing, but again, it's something that as humans, sometimes we fall victim to doing. Now, a lot of my songs are stories. I think you probably know that if you listen to a lot of my music. I tell stories, and so subsequently there's certain literary devices that I use. You know, there's a plot twist or there's a surprise ending, and in this one there isn't one. There isn't one. You know, you expect maybe he'll get his comeuppance at the end, as sometimes happens in my songs. You know, sometimes I like to lure people in with a story and then just like slap them across the face on the last verse. Or like Beast of Pirates Bay, it's like I'm slapping you every single verse. The beast is bad. It's a terrible monster. It's gonna eat you. It's gonna devour you. And then at the end you find out why you've been getting slapped verse after verse, and you're like, oh, that's not what I expected was gonna happen at all. So I'm a big fan of story arcs. I'm a big fan of character development, but that never happens here. This individual is kind of not entirely self-aware. In the bridge, there is a moment where the protagonist is self-aware. He says, would it kill you to play along? Just lie there like you, just sit there like you belong. Would it kill you to be part of my personal fantasy? Would it kill you to lie, just lie there like a blushing bride? And this is an insight into the fact that somewhere deep inside this person does understand that what they're doing is they are projecting onto someone instead of really getting to know them, and they just wish they'd go along with it. You know, because it's easier to live with a fantasy, a perfect fantasy, than it is to live with another human being and actually get to know them and cherish them for who they are. So that is the meaning of The Projectionist, and now we're going to get to the origin. Now, as you probably know, The Projectionist is the first song on my album Heart-Shaped Wound. That album, and I'll be doing an overview of the whole albums later on, but that album was an album that was written during a very tumultuous but very, very short 3-month-long relationship. And I think I wrote 3 or 4 songs during the relationship. So there's a song about falling in love, and there's a song about realizing it's going to be more difficult than you thought, and there's a song about realizing it's going to be impossible and why and how painful that is. And I was writing these songs, and I knew that there was ultimately going to be an album, but anytime there's a breakup, it's just so easy to blame your partner. It's so easy to blame the other party. You know, oh, well, why couldn't they be what I needed them to be? Why did they have to be like this? Why did they have to be like that? So it was a while after writing the first few songs for the album that I thought, unlike Taylor Swift, hey, maybe I'm the problem. So I really had to think about, you know, what maybe I did wrong and what's wrong with me. You know, I'm staunchly monogamous. I pretty much have been in one monogamous relationship after the next. In between, obviously, I'm single, but I long to be in a monogamous relationship. I long to meet somebody that I could fall in love with and be with forever. And hence I have found myself being the projectionist. And it's something I'm not proud of, but I think it's very important in making art that you don't always make art that's flattering of who you are. I think it's important to expose yourself. I think it's important to be honest about who you are. And especially if you're going to write diss tracks, as some people call them, I think it's important to stop and take account of who you are and what you've done, what your faults are. And I feel very much that certainly in that situation, I was being a projectionist. I was not being fair to the other person. I was not really taking the time to get to know her for who she really was. I was just wanting her to be what I wanted her to be. And that's dreadfully unfair. And that is what The Projectionist is about. Now, I don't remember writing the song. I know, obviously, because of the chronology of Heart-Shaped Wound, that it had to have been like the 4th or 5th song that I wrote. But I don't remember sitting down and writing it, which tells me that it was a concept song. And I write songs in very different ways, and sometimes I write what I call a concept song, and that's when I get a concept for a song. I don't hear a melody, I just have an idea, and I think, you know what? I should write a song called The Projectionist, and it is about that phenomenon, and I will use a physical projectionist as the metaphor. And then I probably picked up my guitar and didn't put it down until the song was finished. I probably sat there for 3 days like, so that is how and why the song was written. Now, production-wise, The Projectionist was recorded during the summer of 2017 at Riff Studios with Tom Gardner, who mixed all of Raised by Bats. And recording on this song was the Dream Team, the folks I've been working with quite a lot lately, and that's Brian Viglione on drums, of course, and Emilio Quina on bass, and Francis Morin killing it on guitar, as always. But some extra added special guests on this one. I wanted a keyboard part that sounded like a choir, and for that I got Andy Dean, my very good friend from Bella Morte / The Rain Within, provided that track. And my son, Mars Wong, sang the backing vocals on this. In fact, he sang backing vocals on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 songs on this album. He's got a great voice, but more importantly, above and beyond all of that, he's a great harmonizer. It's something I've never been able to do. I can't come up with harmonies, but he has a real skill for it. I think the family business is in good hands. But he sang all the backing vocals, and it was just so much fun to be in the studio with him. We had a really good time. And then the last musician who was brought in was the violinist. I felt that after the song was done, it had this lead guitar that went all through it, but there was something that, you know, it didn't quite have the Voltaire sound, and I wasn't sure what it was. I thought, you know what, we should bring in an anachronistic instrument. We probably need some violin. And so we got Ben Lively to come in, and Ben Lively played on Riding a Black Unicorn. He's an amazing violinist. He came in, he played some parts, I hummed him some parts, and together we worked out the part that he plays in the song. When the song was finished and we were mixing, Tom Gardner, the engineer, said, so which is the lead instrument? Is it the guitar or the violin? And I said, yes, why not both? Let's have both. So I thought he did a really, really great job in the establishing sort of an interplay between both instruments where they both live sort of harmoniously. They're both the same volume really throughout the song. Another interesting thing about the Projectionist is that I told everybody who played on it that I wanted this song to sound like it could be played by a DJ immediately after the song Tear You Apart by She Wants Revenge. And so maybe now when you listen to She Wants Revenge, that song Tear You Apart, maybe you'll hear the similarities. I'm pretty sure no DJ has ever done that, despite my wishes and hopes and dreams. But that was sort of like the impetus behind the basic sound and structure of the song, was that I really loved that song and I wanted to emulate that in some way. I don't think I have ever played the Projectionist live. I think maybe once I played a little bit of it when I was still writing it. But I don't think it's an exciting song to play on acoustic guitar. I think a lot of what makes it interesting sonically are the other instruments. I think it might be a little too linear for acoustic guitar. But someday I hope to put together a rock band to play all of my rockin' songs like The Projectionist and Never and Wake Up From This Horrible Dream and Raised by Bats and the odd songs that are coming up next. So we'll see. So stay tuned for that. Thank you so much for watching Song, Meanings, and Origins. I hope you've enjoyed this installment. If I left something out, if there's something about the song The Projectionist that you want to know about, leave a question in the comment section below and I will answer it for you. And of course, let me know what other songs you'd like to hear about. What songs of mine are you confused by? Do you not understand the lyrics? Or you'd like some clarification? Let me know in the comments below and I'll try to get to that song next in this series. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like the video and subscribe so that you'll never miss another video on The Lair of Voltaire.